Hello, and welcome to another Vector Screencast. My name is Sean Hodge, and I'll be taking you through the tutorial, Create Your Own Gothic Looking Card Deck by Simona Pfreundner. In this tutorial, we'll create an awesome card deck. You'll create your own brushes and design elements to make this cool looking card. I'll be demonstrating these techniques in Illustrator CS4. For all you Vector Plus members, be sure to download the tutorial by going to tootsplus.com. After you've reviewed the included files, we'll be ready to begin, and for those of you without Plus accounts, you're welcome to follow along as well. To begin, let's first take a look at what we'll be creating. You can see the final image here. Let me just scroll down. See, it's a cool Gothic looking card deck with some design elements, some border brushes, some pattern brushes used here, some transparency and shading effects. And Simona dropped in a skull and some lettering as well. So let's get started. Okay, open Illustrator, create a new document, and then grab the pen tool by hitting P. Actually, first grab the zoom tool by hitting Z. Let's zoom in a bit, hold down Command, and hit parentheses to bring up to grid. You can also go to view and make sure snap to grid is turned on. Turn the grid on as well. Again, hit P to grab the pen tool. Go ahead and click on a point. What we're doing is we're going to draw a leaf shape. You can see how it snaps to the grid. The handle does as well, which makes it a lot easier to create one of these shapes. Want to make sure that, grab the direct select tool, make sure that these handles match up so that our leaf is equal on both sides. Looks good. So I'm going to drag it in a little bit. I'm selecting one side, just make it a little bit thinner. Doing the same thing on the other side. I'm going to rotate it. Hey, look at what Simona's got. What shape is she's going for here. Let's try like that. Hold down the Option key and drag a copy off. Grab the rotate tool. Just trying to get something that matches. Okay, we can turn off snap to grid, and we can turn off the grid as well. Go ahead and select these shapes. Go to Object, Transform, Reflect. Go ahead and set it to vertical 90 degrees and hit copy. Hold down the Shift key, drag it over. Grab the ellipse tool by hitting L on the keyboard. And just draw a circle in the center here. Select all the elements. I'm turning the stroke off. Yeah, turn the stroke off. Select all the leaf shapes and group them. Then you can grab the circle. Let's make this a little bit more obvious. We've got these shapes grouped, and then this is a separate element. Then you can select them all and choose horizontally aligned center up in the control panel. And that centers this circle. Hit Command 1 to bring us back into 100% view. I just shrunk this down, grouped it, and I'm just moving it over a little bit. Go ahead and save your document. Go ahead and select the leaf shape, drag it into the brushes palette. A pop-up. When the pop-up comes up, click New Pattern Brush, click OK. Go ahead and name it Leaf, or whatever you want to name it. And then for the spacing, put 5%. Everything else you can leave as is, and then click OK. I'm just dragging from the tutorial an image of this step so that I can draw this shape. Then I'm zooming in on it. Hit P to grab the pen tool. Now we're just going to trace this. You could draw your own shape, but I want to make sure that it's really close to the original so that we get this overlap that we'll be doing shortly. Go ahead and set it to no fill and a black outline. Now we're just going to go ahead and trace around this. You can see this shape's a bit quirky. I'm going to hold down the Option key and drag this handle back so we're going to get a really tight point here. And as I mentioned, the shape is a bit quirky and it's fine to maintain that. Alright, that looks pretty close. You can see the original and here's that shape. If you want to clean it up a bit, just grab the direct selection tool and then you can drag each one of these handles. You can smooth out any of the points or change the angles a bit. The big thing is that when you get to this next step, you want to make sure that they'll overlap. See how that's happening here? Let's zoom out a little bit. So we're just going to hold down the Option key and the Shift key and just drag it down so you get both those overlapping. Then select them both, give it a fill, and then we're going to go to the Pathfinder palette. I'm just clicking Unite on the Pathfinder palette. Looks like I locked that. Go ahead and get rid of it. Hit Command 1. Just going to scale this down a bit. Save in my document. Go ahead and hit R. Hold down Shift to constrain this. And then I just rotated it. Hold down Command. We're dragging a copy off. Hit Z. I'm going to zoom in. Hitting Command with the minus sign to zoom out a little bit. And that's how we're setting this up. Select them together, drag it into the brushes palette. Select New Pattern Brush when the pop-up then hit OK. Go ahead and name it Thorns, and then hit OK. Go ahead and hit Command 1. Grab the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle. The size is really up to you. And we're going to give it a 5% background. See the color here. And go to Effect, Convert to Shape, Rounded Rectangle. Doing it this way rather than using the Rounded Rectangle tool gives us some more flexibility if we want to make any changes to it later on. Whoops, did something wrong there. Let's try that again. I should be doing relative. Leaving it relative and just setting it to 0, so it's not making very many changes. But with the corner radius, I'm setting it to 9 point. But go ahead and use whatever, which is the default. Go ahead and use whatever you'd like there. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply the thorns to the outside. See, they come in. Mine are set kind of large. Just making sure it's setting the color there. And I don't know how I have everything set up, so I'm just looking for strokes. There we go. This tutorial says 0.5, but just try different settings. Actually, 0.5 looks pretty good. I'm just going to set it to maybe 0.4. Yeah, it looks good. Whatever looks good to you is fine here. Go ahead and hit Command 1. I'm actually going to hit Command minus to zoom out a little bit. I always like to hold on to my shapes that I create. I just drag them off the artboard. Keep them all in one spot. Hold down the Option key and Shift to constrain it. Actually, let's go ahead and hit Command X, Command 1 to make sure everything's centered, Command V, and hit Command minus again. Now it's directly in the center. Hold down the Option key and Shift. No, wait. Hold down the Option key, drag it off a little bit, and then hold down Shift. And that's going to give us a copy. Go to Object, Expand Appearance. Grab the Direct Select tool by hitting A, and delete that copy. Drag another copy off. It's okay if it doesn't all fit on the artboard. And again, go to Object, Expand Appearance. And make it red. I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see what it looks like here. And then in the Pathfinder palette, select Unite. Go ahead and hit Command 1. Go ahead and drag a copy of the original off. Opening up the Appearance palette, it's just another area that you can make changes to. It's really nice in CS4. I'm just clicking on the stroke, and I'm going to give it a light gray border color. Changing the brush to the leaves, applying the leaves brush. And we're changing the colorization method to hue shift. Go ahead and apply to strokes. And then just scale this to what you think looks right. In my case, I'm changing it to 0.3 strokes. And we'll be applying a few more changes here. Let's not worry about that yet, though. Go ahead and save the document. Go ahead and apply a linear gradient going at the default from left to right. Added a color stop in the center, and just apply some colors that are light gray. I'm going 20% black. I'm sorry, 30% black, then 20, and then 30. Actually, let's turn up the sides to 40 on each side. Looks good. Now hit Command 1 and then Command and the minus key. I'm turning the appearance off on this original layer. I'm going to drag a copy off the artboard. I'm sorry, I'm turning the brush stroke off on that layer. I'm going to go to Effect with that layer selected. With that shape selected, I'm going to go to Stylize, Outer Glow, and apply the default. Select all three of these. Click horizontally align center. You can see how they line up. Holding down the Shift key to constrain these. Make sure that our gradient rectangle is selected. Open the appearance panel. I'm selecting the fill. That way I can, when I add something, it's going to be added right above that. Click the Add New Stroke button. Change the color to white. In the tutorial, it's being set to 5 point. Let's see how that looks. Just set it to 5 point. Zooming in. We also want to make sure that you can align the stroke in CS4. Go ahead and select Align Stroke to Inside. That's pretty close. Let's go ahead and, in my case, I'm going to need to bump it up to 8 point. Looks good. What we want to do is hit Command X and then Command F to make sure it's in front. Select all these shapes and then horizontally align center. And we want this to be set to multiply. And then I'm just going to drag it inside a little bit until it looks the way that I want it to look. You can always adjust it later, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Takes a little while to render. I'm just placing it in the center of the document. And we want a bit of the card to show, so we want to select the last object. Go hit Control, and then go to Select Last Object below. And then just drag it out a little bit. This is the object that we applied the outer glow to, that has a 5% fill. This is going to give it more of a card look. And again, you can adjust this throughout the tutorial, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Go ahead and save the document. I'm going back to one of our original shapes, holding down the Option key and dragging a copy off. Then I hit Z to grab the magnify. I think it's a magnify. No, it's called Zoom tool. The Zoom tool. And then go to Object, Transform, Reflect, hit Copy. Hold down Shift to constrain it. And we basically want it to go into itself. See how it's not showing any edges here. Just like that. Then go ahead and open the Pathfinder palette and click Unite. Go ahead and zoom out a little bit to have a little more space to work with. Hold down the Option key, drag a copy off. Hold down Shift and the Option key, which will constrain this. And you may want to use the arrow keys to move these a bit. Then select both. Again, hold down the Option key and Shift to constrain it. Now hit R to grab the Rotate tool, hold down Shift, and you can rotate some copies around. Hit the R key again after selecting all these shapes, and then start to twist it, and then hold down the Shift key after you start to twist it. Oops. Let's try that again. Start to twist it, hold down Shift and Option, and that's going to give us copy. And I'm not sure if this shape is exactly like in the tutorial, but all you're doing is making a pattern here, and if you're happy with it, then go ahead and move forward. It doesn't have to look exactly the same as what Simona created or what I'm creating here. And open up the Pathfinder palette, and I'm going to click Unite. I've held down the Option key to drag a copy off, and hold down Shift and Option to constrain it. Hit Z to grab the zoom tool, zoom it in a bit. Selected both objects, clicking horizontally align center and vertically align center. That way it's exactly in the center. Do what I usually do, which is just make this more dramatic. You can really see how these tools work. So you place it directly in the center for you. Now start to drag a copy off. Hold down Option and Shift, which will give you a copy, and constrain it. And we're going to do the same thing for the bottom right corner. And go ahead and select both of these shapes. Go to Object, Transform, Reflect. Vertical at 90 is what we want to set it at. And hit Copy. Now we've got all these set up. Let's go ahead and give them all these gradients. I'm actually not sure. Okay, looks like she's got them all set with these gradients. This is the same gradient that I used on top of the card. You can go ahead and adjust a different gradient if you want to. And then I'm going to drag this, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to make all the small shapes one group, because I'm going to apply Command X and F, because I'm going to apply Command 1 to center it. I keep interrupting myself. I'm going to apply a certain effect to these and a different effect to this one. So that's why I'm making them separate groups. Go ahead and select all the shapes, and we're just going to make sure everything's aligned the way you want. I'm not going to bother with vertical. Just go ahead and adjust it as you see fit. And let's see what settings she's got in the tutorial. This is like much of this. You can set these to whatever you think looks good for your card. But I'll try to get the same settings that Simona has used here. And what she's got this set to is overlay at 56%. And this one's set to multiply at 30%. That gives us a pretty cool effect. Nice look there. Go ahead and save. Looks like I didn't save a copy of this shape, so I'm just recreating it real quickly. Because we're gonna use this in just a second here. Okay, this is the shape that we used in step 11. After hitting Command 1, I'm just scaling this. Trying to see what, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to the appearance palette. And we're going to have 2 strokes here, so go ahead and add a stroke. The top one's white, and Simona's got it set to 3-point here, which looks good. And the bottom one is going to be red. Go ahead and set it to red, and make it 3-point. And let's see, they're aligned. See how they're aligned in the tutorial. It looks like the top one is set to inside and the bottom one to outside. Just click on where it says stroke. Set to inside, and this one set to outside. Looks good. Go ahead and save the document. You can see how the red here is blending into the red in other areas, which creates an interesting effect. Make sure the shape that we've been working with is selected. Then go to Object, Envelope Distort, Envelope Options. That's not right. Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Warp. There we are. And we're going to use Shell Lower. Let's see what settings she's using. It's like 75%. But again, you can, let's hit the preview. Yeah, see, that's not looking good with my shape. So go ahead and adjust it until it looks good to you. And for me, 32 looks pretty good. Let's turn it down even more. I'm going to go with 28 here. Hit OK. Now, we're going to expand this shape. So now's a good time to change anything if you want to before expanding it. You may want to just drag a copy off as well. You can always go back to it. Go to Object, Expand. There we go. Hit Command 1. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit. Hit A to grab the direct selection tool. And just move this down a little bit. See, it's just creating another interesting effect here. Hit Command 1. And just work with that until you're happy with it. I'm going to hold down Option, drag another copy off, hold down R, rotate this around a bit, and then try to set it up in roughly the same spot as we have below. Go ahead and save the document. Go ahead and hit L to grab the ellipse tool. Put the crosshair roughly, well, not roughly, as close to the center as you can. And then hold on down Shift and Option. And then go ahead and drag it out I'm going to turn off the fill, and I'm going to give it a black stroke. Now I've just applied the brush to it, the leaf brush that we created earlier. I'm going to open up the stroke, and I've set it to 0.25. And as usual, you could go ahead and play with that. I just turned it down to 0.2. Go ahead and hold down the Option key. Oops. First, let's select. And hold down the Option key. I'm grabbing just the black and the white part of this, and then hold down Shift and Option to constrain this, and we're going to zoom in nice and close. Hold down R, this will and then the Shift key will constrain it to 45-degree angle, and just place this where you think it'll look good. And what actually, let's try to find it more in the center. That looks good. What I've done is grab the rotate tool and placed I don't know what this is called, but the point where you're going to rotate it from. And I've held down Shift to constrain it and drag. Actually, I started dragging, then held down Shift to grab a copy here. Then if you hit Command D a couple more times, then you'll complete a rotation here. Go ahead and zoom out. This shape isn't covered in the tutorial, but I've got it saved here from Simona's artwork. She does place it for Plus members. She does place it in the Plus file that you download, so you can get this. Let me zoom in on it real close so you can see it though. It's pretty simple skull if you wanted to design your own based on this. You can see how this is made. Go ahead and copy it, hit Command 1, and Command V. She'll place it in the center. Looks like I don't quite have everything vertically centered. And I'm going to scale it down a little bit to fit. Looks good. Hit Command 1, then Command and the minus sign. And then Shift plus Option. Hold down Shift, Option, and drag a copy off. Okay, let's go ahead and start getting rid of some stuff here. It's like this isn't on this card. Looks like we don't need this. Just deleting a couple layers there. And then you may need to change some of the appearances. That looks good. Let's go ahead and get rid of the red outline. And now let's add an A. Try to find a font that matches. I'm going to open the character palette. Just drag it off so we can see what we're doing here. If I remember right, yeah, Hobo. Hobo is what I think she's using here, and you can see it matches up pretty well stylistically. Hold down Shift to constrain the letter as I pull on the handles to change the sizing, and now I'm holding Shift and Option to drag those off and doing it once again so we get it in all four corners. Go ahead and save this. Just double check real quick, make sure we've got everything. Yep, looks good. And we're really close to being through this tutorial. The next step will be just some cool presentation. Let's go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and make sure everything for each card is grouped within that card. Then drag it into the symbols palette, doing the red one first. I'm dragging the white card over. I'll go ahead and drag these off to the side. Selecting the last object here, copying it. It would have been best to have done that first. But ultimately what you need is this rectangle shape. Just turn it off the outer glow for now. That way the render will be a little bit quicker, and we can always turn it back on. I'll go to extrude and bevel. Actually, let's make a copy real quick. Hit Command and the minus sign. Drag a copy off to the side. And we're going to be working with two of these. Go to Effect, 3D. Which one is it? Evolve, Rotate. Nope, it's not rotate. Go to Effect, 3D, Extrude and Bevel. We're not trying to give any depth to this, so set the depth, the extrude depth to 0. Give it a preview. Just trying to match this up a little bit. To the first face, which is the top face, I'm applying the red symbol, the red card symbol. Go ahead and hit OK. And hit OK again. And I don't like the way that looks, so what I'm doing is going to the Appearance panel. I'm hitting 3D Extrude again. Click on Preview. Actually, before clicking Preview, let's just change some of these settings a little bit. Takes a little while for it to render. Looks pretty good. Hit OK. Select our other rectangle, go to effect again, extrude and bevel. Set the extrude depth to 0. This time let's try to get the card set the way that we want it. Before we map the art. Turn up the perspective a little bit here. That looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and click Map Art. Go to the white card face. We're applying it to surface 1 again. Hit OK. Then hit OK again. And it just takes a little while to render. Hit Command 1, then Command and the minus key. Now let's go back to the appearance palette, turn the outer glow back on. Which again takes a little while to render. I'm just moving this one to the front by hitting Command X and Command F. And again, it's taking a little while to render. You may notice on the right there that the card doesn't look right. The reason is that the outer glow in the appearance palette is above the 3D extrude and bevel, so it's above the map artwork. We'll fix that in just a moment. Basically, we'll just be dragging the outer glow below the 3D extrude and bevel in the appearance palette. Let's go ahead and do that on this one. Probably have to turn it on first. And again, we have to wait for it to render. Now you can go ahead and rearrange these. So let me drag it. I wasn't selecting the right spot. You have to click and hold around where the FX symbol is to drag it within the appearance palette. And it's rendering it all over again. And you can see now it's looking good. Got to do the same thing to our white card. Go ahead and deselect, hit Command Save. You can certainly adjust this more by clicking again on 3D Extrude and Bevel in the Appearance palette after selecting either one of these, and change the angles until you get it set up just right for the way that you want it to be presented. I'm gonna leave it here though because this takes so long to render, and this looks okay. So we're all set, and our final image is complete. Have fun applying these relatively simple techniques to create your own deck of cards, and play around with these different shapes and different brushes, and take a little bit more time than I'm doing here with the final 3D extrude and bevel to get just the right presentation. Have fun, and I'll see you in the next Vector 2 screencast.